welcome to Etihad Cargo Connections. I'm your host, Rowan Anderson, and my guest today is Tasmania's premier trainer out of 7 Mile Beach, Scott Brunton. How are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. So just winding down for the day, which is good.
That's it.
Yeah, going good. Can't complain.
Keep busy. That's it.
Yes.
So we'll start at the beginning, if we can, Scott. Your father, David, prepared over 700 winners, which included 4 in group company and a further 12 winners in listed company, as well as checking off over 10.3 million in race winnings. How much of an influence, and he's in the Hall of Fame as well, which is crazy achievement. How much of an influence did his career have on you? As well as when did you realize you wanted to continue, that family legacy?
Yeah, it had a big impact on me because you work for your family for love, as you know. So Dad was a great horse trainer, always a brilliant horseman. He was foreman for our early days for Angus Arm and Asco. He started his apprenticeship there actually and became a foreman. And then he went down to the late Noel Kelly down at Ballarat, who was the bloke who ran the show at Forest Lodge before Weary, and a couple of others come along. So he was sort of, he was the Darren Weir of the Western Districts back in the early 80s, I guess. Noel was. He trained horses like Plush Embassy, I think he won a Stradbroke or a 10,000. Panorama Grey. He had great Scotch and Dry, some great horses. So I was born into it, and I was never ever going to do anything else. Might not look like it now, but I used to weigh about 60 kilos and ride a hell of a lot of track work. And now if I jump on them, they say one at a time, please. So, yeah.
And you said you were born into it. What is it about horses that really gets your passion and your interest going?
Oh, mate, I'm a massive lover of animals, and we've got a menagerie down here. I think I've got a retired greyhound, about another 3 dogs, 4 cats, 100 horses, 4 kids. So I probably should have learned how to watch the telly a little bit better, but I've got one now that'll slow the kids up.
Jeez, did you train greyhounds?
No, never trained them. Just had a passion with it. Look, we went into, as you do, across codes. Got into shares with a couple of good owners I've got, and his name was Pretty Boy Roy, and he's retired now. So, and he's the greatest recluse I've ever met in my life. He just wants to sleep all day, and have a bit of a burst of a night. But I love my animals, and I don't think I could see myself doing anything else.
Yeah. I ride on greyhound racing in Queensland as well, so I totally get the cross code thing there, that you're talking about. And you've won.
I trained for Paul Felgate.
Oh yeah,
I trained for Paul Felgate. Yeah, So.
Yeah, and so Paul has a record up here about 20 minutes from where I live at Ipswich. So with one of his dogs. So that's really cool.
Cool.
And you won the Tasmanian State Premiership for consecutive seasons while preparing over 600 winners. What have been your main career highlights so far?
Look, I do hope my career highlights yet to come, but I would have to say trained Lady Lynette to win the Blazer Stakes at Flemington was a pretty big thrill, and of course the inevitable tracking his way up to he won the CS Hayes at Flemington, and then went on to win next preparation. He won Chandler and McLeod, I think, at Moonee Valley, and then went up and won the Silver Eagle, which was incredible. And then everything turned to shit from there after the Silver Eagle. I had no luck in Sydney. Nothing went right like that. On the way to the Golden Eagle, truck broke down on the way to the races, got stranded on the side of the road, and they were very obliging along that. Is it the Hume Highway? About 4 lanes wide. Trucks just whizzing past you. I handled it far better than my partner did. So, which is, if you knew me, you wouldn't have thought that would happen. So.
and let's just talk about that little battler, the inevitable. I was reading a little bit that you've that you've spoken to the media about him. 7-year-old finding a patch of form again, won his last 2 starts after winning last year at Launceston. Tell our listeners and our eventual readers a little bit about the inevitable.
The Inevitable, yeah. So, well,
Yeah.
it's funny you say it like that. He's nicknamed the Vegetable down here in Tassie, because my kids couldn't say the Inevitable,
Okay.
so they called him the Vegetable. So that's how we got his
Yeah.
name, the Vegetable. So that's his nickname. But he's look. So he was bought for 90,000 as a yearling at the South Australian sales. He's very, very small. We're just digging up the other night. I've got a photo of him as a yearling, and when he arrived here from South Australia, I'd done a really good job between a couple of blokes, Adam Upton, myself, and Richard Robinson. Just a couple of well-known identities down here in Tasmania. We were able to sell the horse pretty well. A fellow who passed away, Doug McPherson, took a chunk and got some other guys in as well, which is I really wished he could have been around to watch, the successes he's had, but unfortunately he's not with us any longer. But the Inevitable himself, his first ever race start, run third at Hobart, and got beaten away. But always from day one, he'd sort of do something different about him. His sort of aerobic capacity and things like that is just different to other horses. I certainly believe he's a Group 1 horse gone begging, but look, if you had a look at his ratings and that lately, it's I know he's down in Tasmania, but we're a far cry from where we were once before. We're not that far off the mark. Our good ones are good enough to match it with any of them, like we've certainly improved our product, and I think that's a sort of a compliment to all the trainers and owners and breeders down here in Tasmania that they've upped the ante. So we've had to chime in with them, or we get left behind. So, but the Inevitable was, he won the Guineas as a 3-year-old down here in Tassie, and then of course I took him over to Victoria, where he won the CSAs and got his colours drawn down by Mystic Journey, who won the Australian Guineas that year. So it was 2 Tasmanians in the Australian Guineas that year, and we ran first and 8th. So he suffered from heat stroke that day. It was 38 degrees. I know how I was feeling on the day, so I can only imagine how he was feeling. It was bloody hot for a Tasmanian. So he just, and then he had a break. He came back over to Victoria, competed extremely well, winning 3 in a row, and then heading up to the Silver Eagle. And he won there as well. So, and like I said, it all just sort of fell apart a little bit. He got diagnosed with what they call PODS disease, which is sort of deep-seated bruising of the bone. It's sort of Ballarat Veterinary Clinic. A bloke did a big study on it, and anyway got it patented. Look, PODS disease is an easy way of saying it. You're more than welcome to look it up. I can't pronounce the name, but it's certainly a long one. But it's worth a look. And he has so he had got diagnosed with the PODS disease, but we're also made aware at the time that his feet were off by 5 or 6 degrees, which like I'm not pointing the finger at anyone, but farriers and things like that, and you do bits and pieces with your horses, and some people, we're only human, we get things wrong here and there. But fast forward to coming after the Golden Eagle, so we had all that rehab and trying to fix things. He went over for the Spring Carnival and went amiss, and that's when we got the diagnosis. So he had 6 months off there. We brought him back, got him right. The reason I think we got him right is my partner started jumping him, just doing a little bit with his back end. He got galloped on really badly in the Golden Eagle, and he just never seemed to bounce back from that. He no confidence in himself in the field. I know I talk about him like it's that, no confidence, but these are genuinely the things that were going on with him. He just wasn't using his back end. He's always looking for a way out the back. So we couldn't get him in winning form anyway. So we took him home, we brought him home, and there was I nominated him for an open handicap at Devonport over 1,350 metres. He got 63.5 kilos, I think. So, which was a lot of weight, I felt, for a horse his size. But young girl, Erica Byrne-Burke, claimed off him. I said, if you could just trust me to ride him really cold and let him get back to last and then just sort of wind up around them, that would be great. And she followed instructions to the letter. And my partner, Tegan Keys, who probably deserves most of the accolades when it comes to him, had been jumping him, of course, and he managed to see sort of a glimpse of what he used. No, it wasn't a glimpse of what he used to have. It was like having the an expensive V8 car without the motor in it. But he got the money. He got up and won that day, won by half length, and then we put him out. Brought him back last year. He ran in the Newmarket with top weight, ran fourth. This is the Tasmanian Newmarket, ran fourth. Then went from there to winning the Conquering, which is the race he's racing in this coming Wednesday. Yeah. And then he went to the Tassie Stakes over a mile, and he hung in quite bad the last 50 metres of the race, and was beaten by another one of mine at the time called Limbs Cruiser, which seemed a bit odd. He was a champion Group 1 horse himself in Singapore and went to Hong Kong, and Mr. Lim owns him from Singapore, and of course we were lucky enough. He had an injury, and they rehabbed him. And I think Stewie Gray, the trainer from Singapore, recommended that he maybe come down to our beach lifestyle with Stephen Maskiel and his partner, and that's how we got hold of him. Back to the inevitable. Apologise. So
that's all right. That's all right.
It all in together. So that race. Yep. He hung in quite bad, and we weren't sure that something wasn't right. And my father was down at the time, and my partner also. I wasn't there, but we got X-rays done, found to have bone chips in his offside front fetlock. Had to operate straight away, so back to Ballarat. Got 2 or 3 chips and a bit of, cleaned up a bit of the areas in his fetlocks. They were pretty happy with the way the operation went. But as you know, with bone chips and things like that, you're in the lap of the gods whether they want to let go again or not. But thankful we have a beautiful property where we're quite lucky. It's all heavy sand, and we're surrounded by pine trees, heavy sand, and we've got beaches either side. So the prognosis and the rehab options are exactly what you need for that sort of injury. So needless to say, he's come back. His first up run was outstanding. David Perez having his first ride on him, and he was off the bit the whole way, but he seems to go on autopilot, seems to know when to pick up and finish off. And so his win was very, very good first up, with 61 kilos on his back. And he dropped 1.5 kilos going into the Newmarket, and I was sort of like a kid in a candy shop when that come out. So they're both races were quality handicaps, but the handicappers make up their own mind, and I fell on the right side of the sword that day. So because he's come out and he's won extremely well, won the Newmarket, which is an extremely hard race to win, especially with a back marker. Fortunate enough to Quinella the race on the night with first accused, which was great. But that was sort of his figures out of that race were extremely good. And I think he ran his last 600 in about 32.9, which is pretty exciting. Going forward, we felt like we missed our opportunity. He did run 8th in a Newmarket down the straight at Flemington, but he wasn't right on the day. We found that when you're travelling with that PODS disease would come very evident when you get him off soft ground and onto the hard ground. His feet would go on fire. You might look back and see that he won at Moonee Valley, missed the kick for the first time in his career, but he won with Craig Williams aboard like a superstar. He just rounded them all up and just kept going away. But I always said that day that I didn't think he was right. He wasn't himself. He's very angry and agitated, and that's when tick tick if you think sometimes, and if you work on your gut feeling, sometimes you'd be a lot better off. But I knew something wasn't right that day. But he won like a superstar, so we continued on to Sydney, and that's when he won the Silver Eagle. But then it all fell apart after that. So, and then we're back to where we are now. So.
And you mentioned my next question. You pretty much covered it in that explanation of of him and his race style. So I saw two great stats that really impressed me. For example, last start he sat last at the 800 and the 400 before winning by half a length, and then the start before that he was last at 800 and 400 again, and won by 2.5 lengths. So I'm guessing, as you said, he's a natural backmarker.
Look, he is now. I think he's more comfortable with knowing what's going on around him. He used to be a sort of horse that sit fourth or fifth, but he's got a devastating turn of foot. He was probably effortless for him as a 3-year-old, but when he's got a bit older, we've reinvented him, and he's reinvented us. So you only learn from your mistakes you make with these horses, unfortunately. So, he's brilliant at the moment, and we're very excited. And I was talking to Neil Jennings. Is it the handicapper over in Dubai?
Okay.
Yeah, and I was talking to him some time ago, and we were really keen to get over there then. But that's of course when things didn't go right with him. So. Hence why I spoke about wanting to get back to Dubai. I think it'd be a good holiday. So I'd like to have a look.
I mean, just reflecting on those two starts and those stats, it just shows the like you said, the turn of foot he has and the engine he has, when asked the question, like to come from sitting last at both those stages, pinnacle points in a race and win in those style. Incredible. And looking at stats, 25 starts, 12 wins, close to cracking 1 million in race earnings. And then you look at his sire, 19 starts, 10 wins, further 5 placings. Now you're talking about heading to Dubai, as you said a moment ago. What was the thinking behind that? And was it just a reflection of it was a thought, years ago, as you said, when you were talking to the handicapper over there, and now, the fashion that he is performing, it's time to push the button and show the world what he can do, really.
Yeah, that's what I would hope to do, and it's I guess a good feel-good story for a young bloke, or I was a young bloke once, for a bloke from Tasmania with his horse to sort of maybe get over to the that land. As I said, I think he's very well suited to soft sand, and they've got plenty of sand and desert over there, so it might fit in just nicely.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but look, I think his capabilities are good, and they provide a platform that you don't have to be the absolute top tier. You've got options to go through. The lower grade races are worth a lot of money, as you know. So, look, it's just if the possibility comes across my desk again, I would take it with both hands.
Okay, so
and I certainly think I've got
right
the horse
now,
good
as
enough.
is it just an idea and planning currently, or what is the plans that are in place? Is it a year? Is it next year, or as reported, or is it a year upon year progression?
Look, I would circuit here. So we've got races on Wednesday night at Launceston again over 1,400 metres.
And that's in the Conquering, isn't it?
The Conquering, that's right, correct. So you've only got 2 weeks between runs to the Conquering from the Newmarket, and then you've got a 3.5 week break then to the Tassie Stakes, which is over a mile, which I reckon sees him out distance-wise. And then you drop back for a small frame. You drop back to the 1,400 a month later on Hobart Cup Day, called the Thomas Lines. And then on from the Thomas Lines, you go back to the mile again at Launceston on Cup Day in a race that's means a lot to me now, because it's been named after probably a stable, our best horse. He didn't have the brilliance of the inevitable, but a horse called Haliver Street, and he was at the top of the food chain here for a good 5-6 years, just duking it out with all the way for age horses, and he won
Yeah.
20-something races and gave us, won about 1.2 million in prize money. Won a group race on Oaks Day. It was just a big thrill, like a great horse that got knocked back from the Magic Million sale. He was by the post out of the back gate on when it comes to breeding. He wasn't well bred at all. So I think he's by a sire called Haliki, who I don't know where he ended up. But so that's on Launceston Cup Day, and I really like to have the Inevitable and First Accused and Mandela Effect. I've got 3 or 4 there that will be going to the Weight for Ages. So I would really like to win that race. It's the first year they've run it as the Haliver Street Stakes, it used to be the George Adams. So I'd really like to get the money there if I can.
So, and then just build from there. So show what you can do in your home state, and then progress.
We're going to have a crack at trying to get into the All-Star Mile. He has a really, really good following. And believe it or not, if you have a look at how it sets up, the Tasmanian's probably got the best lead ups to that race. The All-Star Mile. It's got the perfect lead up to it. You got the 14 into the mile, and I reckon you got the mile under your belt. Good, hard, tough run. 2.5 weeks later, the All-Star Mile's on, and I'd jump at the opportunity for him to get in there. And I think we're sort of in a sort of position where we could probably get enough folks out of the Tasmanians, because they stick pretty solid.
Stick together,
we might be able to get ourselves a crack at that, and that'll be it. Yeah, 100%. Not literally, but yeah.
And you have a stable now of about 60 horses?
It's probably more towards 90. And I wish it was 60. I really wish it was 60. We have quite a lot of work. Just trying to scale down a little bit now and sort of focus on just focus on better times and a bit more time with my family. Sort of, it's just not a dress rehearsal, is it? We get one shot at it, I think, in life. And I just want to make sure I do things a little bit better than I had been in the past.
Yeah. And so you mentioned First Accused a little while ago, as well as Mandela Effect. Who are some other horses, that are real stars of your stable, and even some horses that, once the Inevitable does get to the UAE, that could follow suit, and horses that like running on the hard sand? Yeah,
100. Yeah. Look, I've got like I said, we're fortunate enough to train Lady Lynette. I think Dad bought her for 10 grand and she earned 1.3 million. And then I had a great horse, Banker Mo, won the Mornington Cup, the Warrnambool Cup, the Pakenham Cup. Ran second in the Hobart and Launceston Cup. He was a great horse. And now we've got, Mandela Effect, he's getting a little bit longer in the tooth, but he's done a massive job. I think he's bought for 16,000. He's earned upwards of 800,000 in prize money. First Accused was bought for, we actually had a $10,000 sale voucher. So we bought him for 16 and used the sale voucher. So he cost $6,000. And he's just had a couple of little niggling issues this preparation. And I'm taking nothing away from the Inevitable, but First Accused is a seriously good galloper in his own right. And I had him ready to go over for the Lithgow Stakes at Flemington over the Carnival, and he just didn't come up right. And we've since found that he had a bit of trouble in his sacro, in his back over his bum, and he's had some injections and some therapy to fix that, and he seems to be, coming out on top of things. It just didn't have the right lead up to win a Newmarket. I'd give him 2 runs over 1100. He's certainly much better suited out over 14 and then maybe even a mile. Trying to keep him fresh to try win the Newmarket was, really hard. But in saying that, it's a handicap where the little bloke carried 59.5 and he carried 54. So there's arguments on both sides of the fence. But I think First Accused I think the Inevitable will battle hard in him this year, and he'll be the horse to take over the throne next year.
Awesome.
That's what I think. There's a weight for age horse here in Tassie, yeah.
And just a final question. It would have been really awesome to see, First Accused second in the Newmarket run that Quinella for the stable as well.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Yeah, it was a really, really big thrill. I've Quinella the Newmarket. I actually nearly tried a few years back. I ran first, second, and fourth in it, which Quinella. So God knows what I would have done if I'd trifected it. So it was a great night, and that was when hell of a street won his specialty market.
For sure. Thank you for joining us tonight on the latest episode of Etihad Cargo Connections. I've been your host, Rowan Anderson, and we've been joined by Tasmanian's champion trainer, Scott Brunton. Thanks for joining us tonight, Scott.